Okay, this is chapter 62 of The Night Singer. 62. There's something I need to tell you. The minute Rebecca heard those words, or rather felt the fear that seemed to cling to them, it was as though she had shut down completely, as though her mind and her body needed it in order to protect themselves. She had run upstairs to bed and pulled the covers over her head. Petrie had followed her up and sat down on the edge of the bed, not saying a word, just waiting, until he couldn't wait any longer and pleadingly whispered her name. When that happened, she had pressed her palms to her ears and began to hum, as though she were deranged. That was actually how she felt, like she had been driven over the edge and lost her footing. A new period of waiting had begun after that. Eventually, he had given up and left. I can't take any more. Her entire body was aching with that conviction, but it had gradually loosened its painful grip. She couldn't stay in bed forever. Molly would come home from school at some point, and before that happened, she was going to have to hear Petrie out. Rebecca sat up in bed and the room began to spin. Once the dizziness had passed, she padded over to the door and opened it. She couldn't hear Petrie, so she tiptoed over to the bathroom and locked herself inside. Exhausted, she slumped onto the toilet lid. The bottom of the shower curtain was dirty, she noticed. She should take it down and wash it. There were so many more things she should do. What was she afraid of? That Petrie had been unfaithful too? That he had done something else he was ashamed of? That he didn't want to be with her anymore? That was probably what scared her most, the prospect of him leaving her. She would be even more alone than she already was, but she could hardly blame him for that. She had been such a fucking idiot. She had managed to destroy the relationship for no reason at all. In that moment, Rebecca suddenly saw everything that was good about Petrie. The way he had always encouraged her to paint. The way he had helped her get started with ceramics when she wanted to try something new. The way he hurried home whenever she needed him, like he had that time a bat got trapped in the house and was flying all over the place, or the time she was convinced that Axel had slashed the tires on the Saab. Rebecca grabbed the shower curtain and pulled it so hard that the entire rail came crashing down. The echo hadn't even died down before she heard Petrie running up the stairs. He turned the handle on the locked door. "Please, Rebecca, let me in." Rebecca didn't reply. She was staring down at the shower rail, which was sticking out of the tub. They kept a knife on the chest of drawers in the hallway in case Molly needed help and they had to get into the bathroom quickly, and she was grateful that Petrie hadn't used it now. "I forgive you," he said. "Please just let me in." Though she doubted he really meant it, his words made her cry. Perhaps the reason he was so eager to forgive her was because whatever he had done was far worse. She slowly got up and unlocked the door. She let him hug her and lead her downstairs to the sofa. "I don't care about Gabriel," he said. "He's not important. You and me, that's the only thing that matters." Rebecca couldn't speak. She was the one waiting now. "I'm sorry if I scared you before. It's just... Damn it!" He pressed his fist into his temples. "I don't know why I find this so hard." "Just tell me," she whispered. Petrie lowered his fist to his laps, and they both stared down at them. "I've been to prison," he said. "I don't know why I've never said anything, but with everything now, the police might make a big deal out of it, even though it should have been wiped from my record." Rebecca's hand had been moving toward his, but she stopped short. How was she supposed to react to this news? All she felt was emptiness, similar to the way she had felt whenever she knew Axel was about to lose his temper. How could he have kept this from her? "Why were you in prison?" she asked, her voice hesitant. "Actual bodily harm. I was 15, so technically it was a young offenders institute. And after that, well, I turned things around. Sonia had always been so good to me. But when I realized that she wasn't going to abandon me, even after what I did, that's when I really started to trust her. It happened in Nybro, and Sonia pretended I'd gone to stay with a relative for a while." His words came out quickly, unsteadily. "I was so angry back then, and it wasn't the first time I'd hit someone. But the guy had a facial fracture, and he reported me. He had a whole load of witnesses. I'm not that angry person anymore, and I'm so sorry that I let him out earlier in the kitchen. What if the police think that I hurt Joel?" Petrie sobbed. "I know I'm bad at showing my feelings, but I really did like Joel, and I miss him. Not as much as you, obviously, but..." It was as though Rebecca was seeing Petrie for the first time, his stunted, scarred side. She suddenly understood why he was always so cautious, why he wanted to please everyone, the barriers that held him back, why he didn't dare open up about what he thought or felt. He was just like her. He wanted so many things he was incapable of. The love she felt for him in that moment terrified her, but she refused to let her fears win out. "We need to get better at talking to one another," she said. "I know." Petrie put an arm around her, and she leaned into him, resting her head against his chest.